Francisco Perez. Welcome to another educational video. So basically, I was doing the video of Captain Cook, and then I guess the time was too much, so it restarted, and there's an extra 12 minutes. So basically, the gist of it was Kamehameha was swifted away because the High Chief had learned of a prophecy of a king that would challenge his sons and his family's claim to the throne, and this child would eventually become the highest king. So he sent cold warriors, special forces warriors, to kill the boy. The boy was rifted away, Kamehameha. If you want to see pictures of Kamehameha, so the Kamehameha was rifted away, taken to a remote region where he was guarded by the highest of the highest core warriors, which would be like samurai warriors, because you could only become a core warrior if you was a chief. If your fathers were chiefs and you had the elite blood in you, the noble blood, then you were chosen to become a core warrior. So if you look at here, this is actually who Kamehameha is. And they're gonna show all kind of craziness. I'll just put Hawaii. And right here, this is him. Looks like my mom's brother, Uncle John. Alright, so they whisk him away to a secret location, and he's only a little boy. So he's raised by these veteran warriors of elite blood, educated in the highest education, taught the highest skill of Hawaiian martial arts and weapon fighting and navigation, with so much wisdom. And they raised this boy, so this boy was like, he was military minded. He was trained from young, so he was further along than most chiefs. Okay, so he ends up being just out of high school when Captain Cook comes. Okay, so Captain Cook comes, and he's coming to conquer Hawaii. Okay, he comes and he's trying to get logistics down. So he's driving around the island non-stop, mapping the island, mapping the bays, which bays to come in, where the ships can come in and attack, where's the fortresses, where's the food, where's the water sources, where's the farms, where's the chiefs, all of these stuff, right? After first contact, he goes and he does that, right? Then he comes back, and in this meantime, he's getting alliances down. He's trying to get information. He's releasing bioweapons everywhere. Okay, diseases. So they eventually leave after 16 days of this, and there's a lot of disrespect happening from the Europeans to the Hawaiians. Supposedly at this time of the year, this is the Makahiki, so this is when there's no warfare. There's banned. Nobody can go to war. For the if you go to war and you're dead, they're gonna kill you. That's the punishment. They'll stone you with rocks. Okay, so nobody went to war. Supposedly he came at this time, so we weren't rallying up in the way we should have. We weren't attacking them because of the laws that had guided us, the kapu system. Okay, so eventually it gets, the pressure builds so much that we fighting ourselves to show them, you don't want none of this. You better go. Eventually it gets so builded up that can be helped. Getting confrontations already. We're going up to them and we're starting to tease them and show our aggression towards them. Be sarcastic and act stupid to them. Rubbing their belly. Oh, you look pretty full. I think you should leave now. You're not welcome. So they leave. 3 days later they come back. And it's on. We're ready for war. The whole time we've been gathering metal from them, whether we're trading them, and then what happened was when we were trading them, they were giving us fair trade, and then eventually when they realized that we were forging weapons out of the metal, because they don't understand our history, who we were before we were Hawaiians, and our knowledge from then. So we were forging weapons. So they started to negotiate unreasonably, giving just one nail for 16 pigs. So we're like, how are we? You told us that you'll give us 2 boxes of nails for 16 pigs, and now we come in with the 16 pigs. You're telling us, oh, that's only gonna get you 1 nail. You better go get some more pigs. So we took the nails, and you call that thievery when it's justified payment. But you said no, you stole that because we reneged on the deal, which we know you famous for reneging on deals. This is what's happened up to this point. I wanted to make this clear because I understand watching the video, I'm limited to interact as well. I don't want to interact too much. And I don't want to rewrite what they're trying to tell you. I want you to listen to what they sing and see how silly some things are and how contradicted other things are. And I can bring books out, and I brought articles out, so we know a little bit about Hawaii and the people. So a lot of these things are not founded. We can find information to go against it. Like when they're saying that, when they say about the people not being very bright or not being very moral, we understand they're very moral. So let's get into the movie. Let's get into the show. Oh wait, before we get that, I wanted to read this. Okay. The description of which Captain Cook's voyages contained an almost primitive simplicity, natural vivacity, a fascinating manners were in the narrative of a tour through Hawaii, or Hawai'i, with observations on it's by William Ellis. Okay? Contained of the almost primitive simplicity, natural vivacity, and fascinating manners of a people who had existed for ages, isolated and unknown to the rest of the world, were so entirely new, and the accounts given of the mildness and celebrity of the climate, the spontaneous abundance of delicious fruits, and the varied and delightful appearance of the natural scenery in the Sandwich and other islands of the Pacific, were so enchanting that many individuals were led to imagine they were a sort of Elysium. We were in heaven. Isn't that what they said when they went to America with my father's people? Oh, it's like we're in heaven. Elysium. Oh. Okay, let's continue. Where are we at? Where the highly favored inhabitants, free from the toil and the care, the want and disappointment which mar the happiness of a civilized communities, dwelt in what they called a state of nature and spent their lives in unrestrained gratification and enjoyment. These descriptions are convinced faithful transcripts of the first impression made on the minds. So, I mean, you can see there's a lot of drop. And even the way they spell everything, they spell it with the R, like in America. Look, Kavaroa. So, it's showing the deception and it's showing you the truth. So, we're going to get into this, but let's get back to the movie at hand. Look, Oahu, the most romantic and fertile of the Sandwich Islands. We're going to get into this drop next. You won't believe what's on Hawaii. You won't believe.
Cook is provoked into action. He decides it's time to teach the Hawaiians a lesson in British justice. 40 lashes in full view of the warriors watching from the beach. The uneasy peace is now seriously under threat.
It's beginning to break down, and the thing that Cook had always been so good at was keeping that level of attention so that the British didn't overstep the bounds.
Of course, the chiefs would certainly not appreciate this type of behavior, and now that they weren't restricted by the Makahiki season, they could go ahead and react as they felt they should react rather than holding back.
The Koa are burning to revenge this humiliating loss of mana. One warrior slips on board unnoticed, steals the tools again, and makes off. Now it's Cook's turn to taste humiliation. He swiftly assembles his squadron of Marines. He's determined to give chase, and in person.
He's laughing at Cook, not because it's funny, but because he's trying to humiliate. He's saying, come on, run, catch me, you know.
He's trying to set him in a trap. Come on, just down this lane, just right here at this park. Just come to this park real quick. Yeah, no, it's cool.
This is a game. It's a very dangerous game, but it's a game.
The veteran commander and his fully laden Marines stand no chance of catching the strapping young warrior.
The British would be frustrated. They would not be able to chase down the thief. So the idea of being able to steal something and get away with it was quite the game for the Polynesians.
And the object of the game is to provoke a response from the British. The thieving is not about the goods, it's a challenge.
Stop it!
Kamehameha and his Koas have made a fool of the British, but the mana-hungry warriors are out for blood. But while Kamehameha has superiority in numbers, he realizes if it comes to open conflict, he's outgunned. To take on Cook and win, Kamehameha knows he must find a way to even up the odds.
You see where they're adding this? But yet, this was the idea from the very beginning. We need to get the medal. We need to defend ourselves. They're here. It's never good when they come.
He was a warrior and he wanted metal daggers.
It will give him and his small group of followers an edge in battle, whoever they're fighting. If they end up fighting the British, a knife is still better than a stone axe.
Kamehameha has worked out his game plan. He doesn't even need to steal the knives. He'll get the British to simply hand them over.
Kamehameha comes on board in his outstandingly striking feather cloak, and he wants something. He wants 9 knives.
Such exchanges are commonplace during Cook's Pacific voyages. To his second-in-command, Charles Clerk, there is nothing sinister about Kamehameha wishing to trade a valuable cloak for knives.
You see how this is so for real though. As a European, they'll overlook you and say, they're just savages. They don't even know about knives. They've been here their whole lives. They've been here for thousands and thousands and hundreds and thousands of years. They've never seen a knife. They don't know what a knife is. So they're giving them these knives, not realizing, and our people is thinking, we need these to defend ourselves. We need these to protect our people. We need these to survive.
They're a standard tool for almost all kinds of work that you do with wood, with rope, and most of the Polynesians who acquired knives use them for pretty much everything.
But Kamehameha doesn't work with rope and wood. He is a warrior chief and knows exactly what his job is. He's a highly trained killer. Kamehameha passes out the new weapons to his squad and now reveals his plan to take on the British.
So all the metal they already got, they probably fashioned spear tips and bow and arrow tips, and now they got knives.
It's a covert operation aimed at striking right into the very heart of Cook's camp. Kamehameha's bold scheme is to steal Captain Cook's most important boat, a ship's cutter.
The boat is how you survey, it's how you chart, it's how you go ashore to get.
Now what's up with all the boat problems? They're not talking about the boat problems. Seems right now they're just camping, trying to set up a fortification in order to conquer the natives. Right?
Food and supplies.
And they will take this indispensable boat from right under the very noses of the British.
It's the sort of thing that you would have to associate with the warrior group. They're the people with the training, the expertise, and the sensibility that would lead them to do something dangerous like this.
Kamehameha's strategy is simple. He wants to anger Cook into playing his hand.
You see that? Oh, he went steal the boat to anger him. That sounds silly, the way they speak, the things, the explanations they give. It had nothing to do with that. Here, I'll show you. For Captain Cook. Captain Cook preaching right there. Right there. Death of Captain Cook. In 1 second. Right there. Boom. Right there. Okay, right there. So we're getting down to the part where he's talking about the boats. Okay, this is gonna be what he was told by a chief. Let me put you on pause. So here we are, back in the book. I put you on a little pause. So it's that book that we was reading earlier. All right. So here we go. These Europeans who are in charge of your history, who are teaching you currently, telling you what they say in the video. But this is the man who lived in Hawaii 8 years, a little after this happened, who talked to people that were around at the time. And this is what they got to say about the boat. All right. We have sometimes asked them what inducement they had to steal the boat when they possessed so many canoes of their own. They have generally answered that they did not to take it. They did not take it to transport themselves from one island to another, for their own canoes were more convenient and they knew better how to manage them. But because they saw it was not sewed together, but fastened with nails, these nails they wanted. So they stole the boat in order to make weapons, like I said. But see, this book will lie to you and say they make fish hooks, which they made the best fish hooks out of already. Why do they need metal? What's the difference? They was catching as much fish as they ever wanted. This was for weapons to fight the Europeans, to fight Cook.
And provoke him.
So listen to this shit again.
Responsibility that would lead them to do something dangerous like this.
Uses of the ship's cutter.
The boat is how you survey, it's how you chart, it's how you go ashore to get food and supplies.
And they will take this indispensable boat from right under the very noses of the British.
It's the sort of thing that you would have to associate with the warrior group. They're the people with the training, the expertise, and the sensibility that would lead them to do something dangerous like this.
Kamehameha's strategy is simple. He wants to anger Cook into overplaying his hand.
Right, you hear that? So that's what your verses. Do you listen to them saying he did it to anger Cook? Or do you listen to their ancestors who wrote in their books it was because they wanted the nails, the precious metal? You already said in this video prior to this, you stated, oh, Hawaiians talked about shipwrecks and they always acquired the metal from the shipwrecks. That's why they were so intrigued, and they were so they wanted to trade everything for metal. But what I'm saying is that they already had prior knowledge of metal because they weren't always in Hawaii. But Hawaii only had specific type of material. So when shipwrecks came in, they made sure to acquire the metal.
And provoke him into making a strategic blunder.
By stealing the cutter, the Hawaiians will have known that this was going to annoy the British far more than anything else they'd attempted to steal before.
Now, they try to make it seem as if it's not already rocky. As if they're not trying to divide the people and the chiefs. As if they didn't release bioweapons. As if they weren't making unfair trade and pushing their weight around during Makahiki. It was already a shaky foundation. War was already yelled out when they started flocking the Hawaiian man on the boat. It was already a call for war.
The day of tension draws to a close, and all now seems calm out on the water. But below deck, Cook is still raging at his earlier humiliation at the hands of the warriors. He orders Clerk to double the watch and commands Have the muskets loaded with ball instead of shot. And if there is any more stone throwing or insolence, fire upon them.
So much as breathe.
Insolence. They keep using the insolence. Yet they are in our country.
Down below, a lone Koa warrior.
That's the
stealthily
mind of
moving in.
of a conqueror. The imperial dynasties.
They're
go
taking the
around
British on.
taking your lands.
And they're challenging them. And they're going to see if the British are as tough as they claim to be. The consequences of challenging the British are not predictable.
So they're already telling the Hawaiians that you don't want to mess with us. We're bad. We're bad.
First light. The officer of the watch immediately realizes the ship's cutter is gone. Its mooring rope has been cleanly sliced through, and by a knife. Clerk breaks the news to Cook.
You have to remember that in Cook's world, there's nothing much more important than a good ship's boat. A sailing ship without boats is a disaster.
But it's good for us because
Cook quickly
they
comes
cannot
up with
come
his
to
strategy
shore
to get
as
his
easy
boat back.
with as much
Cook
troops.
wanted to make an example, and his decision was to kidnap the Ali'i Nui, or the king of the Big Island, in order to get the cutter back. And this, in hindsight, maybe seems like a very bad idea.
Clerk
Is this the thoughts of a man who's upset because his boat is gone and he really needs a boat when he leaves? Or is this the works of a man who in the long run wants to own Hawaii, like Columbus, Cristobal Colon? He made arrangements with with King Ferdinand, stating that any land he acquires in America, he will have a portion of it, and the riches as well. Do you really believe Captain Cook didn't have the same arrangements with his monarchy? Do you actually believe he didn't? So if he conquers Hawaii, then all his descendants will have a piece of Hawaii. He'll be like a king in Hawaii. This is the ultimate trophy. If you look in Hawaii today, what are all the buildings named? Castle and Cook. Do you think Cook, C-O-O-K, C-O-O-K-E are different people? No, they're variations of the same family name. They all stem from the same family. So that's what he's doing. He's trying to conquer Hawaii, but what's being told to us is just a little we're trading and some problems occurred.
desperately tries to make Cook change his mind, but the veteran commander is adamant.
So he's going to use the full ceremonial of taking his Marines, his red-jacketed soldiers, his elite warriors, as it were, ashore. He's going to use the overwhelming firepower at his disposal to intimidate the Hawaiians, and there's now a danger that something is going to get out of control.
So they make it seem as if this wasn't what it was, an all-out assault on the high chiefs, the king of Big Island's village. To what? Insert the village and remove the king so they can use the king to negotiate surrender. Is this not military tactic?
To the British, all seems quiet on the beach. But Kamehameha's warriors are all around. For now, they are content to bide their time and wait for Cook's next move.
Cook's state of mind during the second period in Kealakekua Bay, he's quite clearly unbalanced. This was irrational. It was not a sensible response. It was not an intelligent response. It was not a Cook response.
When Cook marches into the royal compound, he immediately quizzes the king about the missing cutter.
Kalaniʻōpuʻu isn't aware that it's been stolen. He was asleep during the entire incident. Nobody asked him. They just did it. So he's a little bit confused as to what's going on.
Cook tries to get the king to come with him. The king doesn't defy Cook, but his attendants and such are very worried about this situation.
Kalaniʻōpuʻu seems under the impression that Cook is inviting him to visit his ship. And initially, he is more than happy to go along with this proposal. But as the party approaches the seafront, the king starts to waver.
To me, it kind of sounds like they came in and they, under false impression, they said, "Oh, come to our ship with because they wanted to either kill him or arrest him." But they wanted to they was telling him, "Oh, let's go eat and let's talk story. Yeah, this and that. I'll show you some stuff." On the way to it, you could see the troops, see how they were reacting. They were trying to set up a defense line. As he's probably walking to the ship, he probably could see Marines taking out homes of chiefs, trying to take out the power structure, not realizing maybe there was Hawaiian warriors hidden already out of the villages. We're gonna analyze this.
He becomes confused, and so he shows his refusal by sitting down in the trail right in front of Cook.
Despite his rage, Cook backs off. He realizes manhandling the ruler of Hawaii is not his best move.
Cook is a practical man. He sees that the chief is refusing and immediately decides to scrap.
See, sound like some sneaky ass shit. I gotta get him to the ship where I can we'll have the defenses of the cannons and all my soldiers. And once he gets there, then I can flip the script on him. But I can't just outright tell him, because if he reacts defensively, aggressively, then I won't have a chance of getting this. And this is the last chance I have to capture Hawaii and get my bounty.
Scrap this plan. We'll go back to the ship. We'll come up with plan B.
Cook is about to order his men back to the boats, and then
so you hear that, the echo, and they make it seem as if it was far away, because they're gonna tell you this happened in the next village. So they're making it seem like, oh, it's something else. But they're over there taking the king back to the ship to arrest him, as what they're trying to say, for ransom. While there's another squadron of Marines at the next village who just killed their high chief. So it's much more than what they make it to be.
A gunshot is fired at another part of the bay that echoes off the great cliff face.
now news reaches the king. He hears that a British unit at the far side of the bay have shot a warrior chief, dead.
Now, when word of that came to where Cook and his men were, the tension was increasing.
So we realize what's going on. They're trying to Overthrow us.
It's the moment that
Conquer the
Kamehameha and his
lands.
warriors have been waiting for.
News spreads very quickly. Cooking grossly overstepped the mark.
Warriors now rush in from all angles. The Koa know exactly what their job is: to repel the British and protect their king, and by any means necessary.
The Hawaiians become more threatening.
A very large crowd gathers, and Cook is now in a very difficult position.
Weapons begin to appear at the ends of the crowd and make their way forwards.
What did I just say? All the nails, all the metal they took. They stole a blacksmith's chisel and tongs. They were creating weapons. They traded one of the most highly most valuable cloaks, chief cloaks, for 9 little knives. All this to acquire weapons for this one battle, because if they don't win, they lose their home, they lose their culture, they lose everything.
Cook and Phillips face the Hawaiian crowd, and now the standoff becomes quite close. The Hawaiians are doing what we recognize as some kind of haka. Somebody steps out of the crowd. It's a very short range. Cook fires his gun.
It either misfires or he's loaded one side with birdshot.
It stuns the warrior, but doesn't kill him.
Which must have encouraged the Hawaiians.
Now another warrior runs forward, this time towards Marine Lieutenant Molesworth Phillips.
The crowd was absolutely boiling.
This is what being a Koa warrior is all about. Years of intense training now kick in, automatically.
The Hawaiians begin to press the attack. And the Marines begin to fire into the crowd.
To the shock of the British, Kamehameha's warriors stand their ground.
Cook's men underestimated the reaction of the Hawaiians to Western weapons, and it was not something that deterred them.
The ship can't fire to cover them, and the crowd surges forward.
The Marines have no chance to reload. The order goes up to retreat to the boats. Cook moves back to the water's edge, but suddenly he stumbles.
He's knocked down, bloodied, and tries to rise up and call the boats in.
The Hawaiians see this as a sign of weakness. He can't be a god if he is now suffering like this.
And once they see him bleeding, the call goes out that he's a man just like any other man. And he's leapt upon in great numbers.
He's stabbed, almost certainly with one of the blades that Kamehameha has exchanged with Clark only days before.
They're taking daggers out of one guy's hand so they can use it to poke holes in him.
When they take him down, they all want to be in at the kill. And as soon as they'd killed Cook, it was done.
Kamehameha and his Koa warriors have taken on the might of the British Empire, and they've won.
All the warriors wanted was to prove themselves, to re-establish their kudos, their credibility, and they achieved that very swiftly. They've secured an enormous increase in their prestige. They've seen off the enemy chief. He's dead.
The reason why I say they treat his bones like a high chief and venerated his bones, meaning took care of his bones and the spiritual mana, not because they thought he was a god, but because they knew he was their greatest enemy and was their greatest triumph. But they had saved Hawaii for another 100 years.
Ironically, their triumph over Cook is the beginning of the end for the Koa warriors. Kamehameha now launches his campaign to unite the Hawaiian Islands. But he relies more on modern firepower than on the bravery of his warriors. Kamehameha finally succeeds in uniting all the Hawaiian Islands in 1810. And now the writing is on the wall for the Koa warriors.
Once unification happens, there is really not the same sort of need as there had been for warrior classes.
After unifying the island, I think the society starts to change.
The warriors' lust for war and mana is replaced by a new Hawaiian spirit. It's called aloha, signifying peace, compassion, and mercy. Aloha encapsulates modern Hawaii, a tropical paradise.
You see how when they came, we was living in pure health, beautiful conditions, thriving, warrior status, but we were moral people. And now we ain't shit, but we got aloha. We love every oppressor that comes here. I don't hate people, and I don't hate women. Just like Malcolm X said, why is telling about history and about problems that one had done hate speech? It's just shining light on history. That's all I'm doing. So till the next one. Thank
It's
you for
attracting
coming.
visitors from all across the world. But in recent years, many are now rediscovering that very different Hawaii. The land of proud, skilled, and fiercely independent warriors.